You could start with the timeline, right? So it could be something to the effect of, several years ago, or in 2014, something to that effect, right? Around this time last year, so start off with the when. When did it happen, right? You could start off with the statement like, oh, this reminds me. And then as you segue, you say, this reminds me. And then you're into your story before you know it, right? You could start off the question, right? Who's ever seen that movie? Who's ever seen that movie? Avatar. You guys remember that movie? And then you're like, well, in that scene, and then you're off into your story, right? In that movie, there's a scene, and it got me thinking about, just the other day, right? You could start off right in the center of the action. In the center of the action. There I was, in the middle of the ocean, in Miami, my first time jet skiing. There I was, like, boom, right in the middle of the action. So how do you know, what to leave out of a story, what to include? What I would say is start, if you want to keep it a short story, start it to like closest to the peak as possible. The peak of the climax. Go right to that.
So go right to the action.
To the action, maybe buffer it a little bit before and after. But like the peak is right in the middle. That will keep it short because you're going right to like where the most important part of the story is.
So because of the timeline, 30 seconds?
Yeah, so timeline like this, like almost like I'm doing video editing and I'm going like timeline. I take my scroll and I go boom, and I cut in on that 30-second and I just start narrating what happened in the most highest peak. Think about also the highest emotion. What was the highest emotion? Start to elaborate on that. And speaking of emotions, we want to feel the emotions as speakers. Because if you feel startled and if you feel stage fright and you have that look on your face, like fright, like Bambi, people don't think about the look on their face. People just don't think about that. And it matters so much. A lot of people got the look on their face like they're about to go to the electric chair. It's like horrified. And you don't think about like, dude, please like smirk a little bit. People don't think about how important a smile is in public speaking. Just having a little bit of an underpinning of a smile, right? Almost like a little bit of a smirk. That's just, it's just there. And thinking about smile, we also think about, how do I become more humorous? And the thing is, when people think about being more humorous, they think about, oh, well, I got to be, with the punchlines, I got to have the whole, the comedian shtick, and that's not what it's all about. Humorous is just being light, having kind of fun up there. See, it's very, very important that we do have fun when we're doing public speaking. So that's why the smile should come across. And that's why also your true personality should come across. So don't be so stuck into like, let me be professional. Like, laugh up there. Laugh. Have a good time. Your voice should have some kind of like displays of your personality. Right? People want to see the real you. They want the authentic version of yourself. So feel free to, flash a smile. Display your personality. Show some emotion up there. How you felt. If you felt surprised, what did that look like? What did, like, my jaw dropped. I was... like what did that look like? Show it on your face. I think this is one of those things that people don't think about. And again, they come across with these like fright fest images on their face, and it's like, dude, what happened? Like, chill. We got to give you one of these tranquilizers, loosen you up a little bit, you know. You never want to display any signs of nervousness. If you're a good poker player, you don't let them see your hand, right? Question. Okay, we got a question right here. Yes.
How do you get out if you stuck in that phase of nervousness or loss of work? How do you get out of that to get back to your speech?
Yeah, number one, I would make a drastic change to have a pattern interrupt, because in the pattern right now, you're stifled and you're stuck and you're inside your head. I would make a drastic change. I personally would, I would make such a radical change up there, like a shift, you know, maybe even start laughing for no reason. Like, you know, oh, this got me thinking, you know. Oh, true story, by the way. That's another kickoff into a story, right? True story. Oh, get this. That's another kickoff. Get this, right? So I would make a radical change, you know, start laughing for no reason. Make a change in your character. That's another thing is, you know, we want to play different characters up here. Right? We want to play different characters. When you tell a story, what you want to do is also talk about perhaps who is in the story, right? So you talk about when, you talk about who, and then perhaps you could talk about where. Those 3 W's. Could be interchangeable, by the way. You want to answer those first 3 W's in the first 7 seconds. What are the 3 W's that we just talked about?
When, who, where.
Yes. So, you could say something like, in 2014, that's when, right? My brother and I, that's who, we're headed down to Panama City. That's where. Notice, that was less than 7 seconds. But I did say they're interchangeable. I could say, my brother and I, we're going to Panama City. This was way back, maybe in 2014. So I could start off with the who, right? It's like those Reebok shorts that are reversible, right? This is reversible. We can interchange. We can start off with different ones. Make sense? You guys getting it? Yep. Okay, that's the first 3 W's. And then what we do is we talk about the what. And most of the time should be spent in the what. What happened? What happened in the story? And when you talk about the what, it's a good idea to include some conflict, right? Some obstacles, some challenges that the characters overcame. You want to use character voices, right? And my brother's like, oh my God, you're crazy. We're going to be in so much trouble. And I'm like, no, chill, relax. We're going to be okay. He's like, no, you don't understand. So do your best to use a character voice. The best version that you can, right? The best example that you possibly can. So I'm not saying you have to put all this pressure on yourself to do impersonations. I'm just saying do the absolute best that you can do. You guys think you can do that? Just the best you can do?
Sure.
And then we talk about the why. Why are you telling that story? So we're driving towards Panama City, and it's getting late at night, and We're somewhere in East Bumble County, Georgia. I don't even remember where it was, but we approached this cornfield, and it's the middle of the night, and all of a sudden we noticed that we're running low on gas. And we're like, oh my God, like, we're not gonna make it. There's no gas station in sight. And we pull over. This must have been like 2, 3 a.m. at night, and we pull over, and I get out of the car, and I'm like just looking around. And you ever get that feeling like, you ever seen that movie Jeepers Creepers? Like kind of scary in the middle of the night. Like we saw a cornfield. There was literally, I felt something like hit my ear. It was like something very soft. It was very, very windy. And all of a sudden I turn around and it was just a leaf, but scary nevertheless. And so I get back in the car and we're thinking, what are we going to do? And so my brother has the presence of mind. He says, why don't we call Dad and just see, because he's already up in Panama City. And I said, yeah, maybe it's a good idea. And so he calls up my dad, and then he tells him the situation. We're about to run out of gas. And my dad said, oh, I know my sons very well. Check the trunk, boys. I put a little container of gasoline just in case, And the moral of that story is basically, your parents are more right than they are wrong. So don't ridicule everything they say, okay? And the older we get, the more we realize that, you know what? I see things through their eyes. Isn't that interesting, right? Because when you're young, you think, especially when you go through that rebellious age, your parents are not cool, and so everything they say is wrong. Then you go through your 20s, and maybe after you do like this, like 2 Rams, and maybe you leave the house, whatever it is, right? But then you go later on throughout your life, you realize, oh, my parents were actually more right now that I see it. And it's not so easy to be a parent, is it? It's not so easy. And anyways, so basically what we talked about is you do the first 3 W's, when, where, who, then you spend the bulk of your time in what happened, then you talk about the why, okay? Do include things that you noticed as far as the senses. I saw nothing but pitch black all around me. I heard in the midst of the night, I heard what sounded like, a bobcat. Maybe even sounded like a coyote, like a ooh. I just overheard that. Kind of weird, kind of creepy. I felt, so it's like, what did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel? I felt, I don't know, I just felt like my heart had a machine gun in my chest. I felt that adrenaline. For no reason, there was no danger, just that fear, maybe from watching any kind of scary movies in the past, and then you put yourself in those kind of scenarios. So what did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel? Make good sense?